Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the warm introduction, and thank you very much also for putting this session together. Yes, manufacturing is an important subject also for growth. It's also an important subject for sustainability, because at the end of the day, everything we do, everything we touch, everything we have in this room, everything we have in our office, in our factories, one day or the other it was manufactured. So manufacturing is literally everywhere, but it doesn't always get the limelight as a fancy tech solution. That's why I'm very happy that we have a whole session on manufacturing today. Now, Jose, I have a problem with smart manufacturing, with the term, because when we go as a consultant to companies and want to implement or streamline their operational process and make it more digital, it's very difficult to tell them you have to make smart manufacturing, because everybody will tell me I'm already smart. I manufacture since so many years. Who are you to tell me that I have to suddenly become smart? So that's a tricky thing. That's why I try to avoid this term and call it more digital manufacturing or Industry 4.0. Industry 4.0 is a term which was coined by Germany. And to give you a little bit of context on the industry evolution, so if we have Industry 4.0, we must have also an Industry 1, 2, and 3. Very interesting is Industry 0.2, that was the introduction of the assembly line. And in Industry 4.0, we are now at the point where we want to get rid of the assembly line. So that's why Industry 4.0 is again a real revolution, so to speak. So what are the main design principles for any Industry 4.0 application? There is interoperability. We heard a lot about that already, and we will hear again in this session as well, because we have again an experienced speaker on the subject in manufacturing and from Pfefferer here. Then it's virtualization. Virtualization is basically your digital twin, and we will also hear more about that. Decentralization, service orientation, and real-time capabilities and modularity. And this is all very abstract, and if you boil it down, really it is breaking the idea, or in an ideal world we would really break up the assembly. How is manufacturing today? It's the assembly line. So you have one block of metal, you put it in, you run it through various machines, and at the end you have a crankshaft. Now in Industry 4.0 and modern manufacturing, the ideal world would be to break it all up, to have certain islands, so to speak, because every machine has a different machining circle. So if one machine is particularly slow, the whole process is slowed down because of this machine. So if you can then, in this time, use the other machines which lie idle for some other work, it optimizes your output. And I have here another couple of aspects, what technologies we all use or what we need. So in virtualization, I already spoke about digital twin. Digital twinning is an interesting part, especially bigger organizations, because you can model various assembly lines. You can also use it for machine maintenance, because you can literally have a service technician sitting anywhere in the world, looking at your machine and find out what needs to be changed. Then we have, of course, whenever things are connected, there are problems of cybersecurity, and I guess tomorrow we have a whole session on cybersecurity where we will touch upon it. The Internet of Things I already mentioned, cloud computing, it's already it's a given, but more interesting is what we call edge computing. That's edge computing is that the computing happens at the site, that you have at the machine a computing power which runs your AI, for instance. That's where concepts of what we call tiny AI plays a role. And there we already at AI and machine learning. And one aspect I would like to add, because we've done a lot of work on that, and because it will also be part of revolutionizing the manufacturing world, that's additive manufacturing. Additive manufacturing, in a layman's term, would be 3D printing, but 3D printing, the perception of people who are not from the industry is very basic. It's much more sophisticated what we have already now. And the next big thing in additive manufacturing for me is additive manufacturing of electronics. And why is it super exciting for India? Because these are new technologies. So here we can still set standards because we're not following an old traditional manufacturing process. We can set standards here from India. That's why I think we should have a closer look on everything that's happening in the greater additive manufacturing space. And this all brings us not only to break out the assembly line, but also is a basic tool for what we call micro manufacturing. Everybody talks about Tesla's gigafactory, the bigger the better, but the trend is to go to micro factories. And Hyundai has already set up a micro factory in Singapore where they make cars in Singapore. Tiny market, normally you wouldn't think about it, but they make it there, and they don't use an assembly line. They use a cell. So they let all the parts be brought by automation, by robots, bring to the car where it's assembled, and they can assemble any car they want at any given time there, and it makes them highly flexible. It makes it also that the products are built where they are actually sold, so you have less transport costs, and you can be very, very specialized. So micro factories can be a big trend in the future, and there also, of course, your additive manufacturing plays a role because you print the part where you need it. And since Joe was so kind to mention it, it's not really rocket science. What is our proprietary model, so to speak? We work, one more point I had on sustainable manufacturing. What we normally see in many sustainable issues is we have a strong focus on decarbonization, which is also important, but it becomes sometimes a tunnel vision, and especially when you look at manufacturing, it touches so many aspects. Not only your carbon footprint, it gives job to people, it improves their livelihood. All that should be also summarized under sustainability and looked upon, and not only how much we can decarbonize. So that's why I find, especially since sustainability is such a big issue here, super important that we look into it. And then now finally I come to our so-called 3-pillar model, which we already touched upon it. So we have, obviously, when you set up a factory here as a foreign company, you want to cater to the Indian market, which is, this is why you're here. But you should not limit yourself to that. So you should keep 2 more pillars there. One is, and we heard about this already, you try to cater to the region, and the region you can define. It could be Asia, it could be Middle East, it could be also, as we heard today, Africa. And the third pillar, which is sometimes a bit tricky, is use your manufacturing capabilities, use your engineering capabilities here, what you build up in-house for the rest of the company, for the rest of the group, to use it as an R&D center, to use it as service quality. If tomorrow you have a big project in Brazil, for Indian engineers it's not a problem to ship them to Brazil to set it up there, whereas if it's a European company, sometimes it might be tricky to motivate them to go to another country. And